Picture a stack of $100 bills reaching from Earth to the moon, and then imagine that stack going back and forth 17 times. That is roughly $38 trillion, the current U.S. national debt. It's bigger than the economies of China, Japan, Germany, and India combined. And here's the part that should stop you cold. There's no simple, realistic plan to unwind it quickly. Instead, something else is happening. Something quiet, technical, and easy to overlook. A strategy often called financial repression can shift value slowly from private savers toward the system that finances public debt. And right now, as you watch this, one of the biggest wealth rebalances in modern history may be unfolding in slow motion. Money can drift from savers to debtors, and most people barely notice the movement. It can move from people who planned carefully for the future, towards institutions carrying obligations built up over decades. And the reason you don't see it is simple. It's packaged to feel boring and therefore harmless. The mechanism is wrapped in jargon, spreadsheets, and polite headlines, so it never feels urgent. It's described as policy, stability, and normalization. And that framing matters, because language can change what people pay attention to. To understand how we got here, we need to ask a basic question. What is money, really? Not the paper in your wallet, but the idea underneath it. Imagine a farmer thousands of years ago who needed a new tool. He had nothing the toolmaker wanted right now, so they made a deal. The farmer would owe the toolmaker something later, a promise. That promise is the oldest form of money, flexible social credit. In small communities, everyone could remember who helped and who took. But as societies grew, that kind of memory-based accounting became impossible. So think about it. If an economy makes 100 different products, you get nearly 5,000 possible trading combinations. Finding the perfect match, someone who has what you want and wants what you have, becomes a nightmare. So people got creative and they chose something portable, divisible, and scarce. For early societies, it was shells, beads, and jewelry. Hard to make, durable, and widely desired. Even if you didn't need them today, you could hold them and trade later. Eventually, gold and silver took over because their supply was naturally limited. Gold became a universal ledger, governed more by nature than by human decisions. And for a long time, that worked. But as trade expanded, carrying gold became risky and slow. And that led to a turning point, one of the biggest shifts in the story of money. In 17th century London, goldsmiths began storing people's coins. They issued paper receipts in return, and those receipts were so convenient that people started trading the paper itself. The paper began functioning like the gold. Then the goldsmiths noticed something. People didn't withdraw their gold all at once. So they issued extra receipts, more claims than gold actually sitting in storage. Those extra receipts were lent out, and interest was charged. That was the birth of fractional reserve banking, more money in circulation than the physical base behind it. And from a single loan, the supply could expand, without a single new coin being minted. Today, that process is mostly digital. Most money is created with keystrokes, not printing presses. And once you realize that, the world starts to look very different. Yes, physical cash is still produced, but it's tiny compared to the scale of digital creation. Modern money is largely numbers on screens, backed by trust rules and policy. When a bank gives you a loan, it often isn't handing you someone else's saved money. It's crediting your account, creating a new deposit in the process. The money you see in your account isn't a stack of bills waiting in a vault. It's a promise, an IOU from the system. This constant expansion can help the economy grow. It can fuel productivity and smooth out cycles. But it comes with a catch: inflation. If more money enters the system while the supply of goods stays the same, or shrinks, prices rise. It's more dollars chasing the same stuff. And over time, that changes everything, especially for savers. To manage public spending, the U.S. issues treasury bonds. In plain language, they're IOUs that pay interest to whoever buys them. Banks buy them, corporations buy them, pension funds buy them, and foreign countries buy them. But here's the challenge. Government spending consistently outpaces revenue. Last year, spending was close to $7 trillion, and tax receipts didn't cover it. So the system rolls forward, issuing new debt to manage old debt over and over. Roughly 30% of U.S. debt is held by foreign investors. The other 70% is held domestically inside the U.S. financial system. And here's the part that surprises most people. A large slice is effectively held by government-linked accounts. Programs tied to future obligations, like retirement and healthcare systems, hold treasury debt as part of their funding structure. So in a very real sense, the country owes money to itself, and to the future claims of its own citizens. Now ask the uncomfortable question. What happens when the interest costs start swallowing the budget? And what happens when the math gets tight? And the easy options disappear. This is where financial repression enters. It's a policy approach that keeps borrowing costs low, while inflation quietly does the heavy lifting. And the effect is simple. Debt gets repaid with dollars that buy a little less than they used to. For savers, that can feel like a slow fade in purchasing power over time. If inflation runs above the interest you earn, purchasing power shrinks. And if that happens for long enough, the real burden of debt declines. Not because the number changes, but because the value behind the numbers erodes. Do the math. Hold debt at $38 trillion, and let inflation run meaningfully higher for years. The real weight of the debt can shrink dramatically, without a headline that says, "We defaulted." It's not a single dramatic event. It's a slow recalibration. Your savings account might earn a small fraction of a percent, while inflation runs much higher. That gap isn't just unfortunate. Over time, it can act like a slow leak. And here's the real takeaway. Once you see the mechanics, you can start making smarter choices. Not panic choices, strategic choices. Choices that protect your future, instead of letting it quietly slip away in the background. If this changed how you think about money, hit the like button, drop a comment, and tell me what surprised you most. I read every single one. And if you want more breakdowns like this, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.